Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ramadan Real Talk. We apologize for the delay. Janae, unmute yourself.
We apologize for the delay because whenever you're trying to do the right thing, you know how that happens. That thing happens where there's always something trying to take you off your square. So welcome, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So those of you who are new to Ramadan Real Talk, I am Jamila, aka the IEP Coach, and I am the founder of the IEP Coach LLC. We are an education consulting company, and we specialize in providing professional development and coaching to special education teams, teachers, and paraprofessionals so they can thrive and not just survive in their roles.
And I am Mentor Teacher League of the Mentor Teacher League. We support teachers in years 1 to 5 and years 1 to 2, specifically with intense coaching, and beyond that with mentorship. And so we make sure that our teachers are the expert in the classroom, that they feel like the queen or king of their classroom and they get the results that they desire. So we are so excited to be here tonight talking with you. Ramadan Real Talk. This is our second installment, episode 2, and we have some great things in store for you tonight.
Yes, so tonight's episode is focusing on supporting Muslim students and colleagues during Ramadan. So that is our topic. But before we get started, share out this live, everybody. Share it out with your colleagues. Share it out with your administrators. Share it out. Hey, you might have some students out there who want to tune in or something. Share it out with them too as well, because it's going to be very informative. And we're also going to have Q&A at the very end. So please, as your questions come to you, put them in the chat. And we already got some. Oh, no, that's something else. All right. So go ahead and share out the live. Share out the live. I'm sharing the live out now myself.
Yep, I'm sharing it out as well.
Share it out as well. I hope everybody is warm in their homes.
I'm trying.
Surely it's cold. It has been cold. So yeah, share out the live. All right. I'm gonna put this on. So yeah, share it out with teachers, share it out. You work in corporate America, you work in the schools, you work around students. Share out this live.
Make sure those people who you know who are celebrating Ramadan, that they're a part of our conversation too. We want to make sure that we're connecting with anybody who might need resources, sharing stuff out to your teammates that you may work with. If you're an athlete in school, or teachers, school administrators, school psychologists, school counselors, the school speech therapists, whoever you are, join us.
All right. And we are we're streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Okay. So hold on, because I'm sharing out this link right now, making sure people got it so they can go ahead and tune in. All right. Let me see. Hold up. Where is I'm trying to get my link. Go down. Hey. Oh, here it is. All righty. All right. So start us off, Miss Janae. You can start us off. I started us off last time.
All right. I wanted to make sure I was still live on my other page as well.
Okay.
It looks like
I see your
No, it's live. I'm rolling. It's rolling.
Okay, you good? Okay, cool.
Good to go. So I am so excited about episode 2 and us being here and just thinking about how we can support our colleagues and students during this time of Ramadan. And so thinking about this question, have you ever worked or studied in an environment that made religious accommodations easy or difficult for you? Right? So if we're thinking about any type of religious accommodation that has happened, was it easy or difficult for you? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Put that in the chat. And then I just want to share with you. You see something in the chat?
No, I said, let us know. I was saying, let us know.
Yeah, honey, let us know. Is it easy or difficult? We pray that it was easy for you. And we hope that this live tonight is going to really help to make it easy for you. For those of you who have been challenged in times prior and it's been difficult for you, we are here to support you. So when we think about Ramadan as our sacred month for millions of Muslims worldwide, but then we think about our students and professionals and the barriers that they face. And so tonight, just thinking about practicing your faith and the school and in the workplace and how that can be a barrier for you. We think that schools and workplaces should really strive to be inclusive. That word inclusive we talk about all the time, specifically with the IEP coach, but in the Mentor Teacher League as well. But making sure that these places are accommodating spaces that honor religious and cultural diversity. So tonight we're going to really focus on strategies for fostering supportive, respectful environments for Muslim students and for our colleagues.
All right.
The basics that we should think about for schools and workplaces, just being mindful during the month of Ramadan. What are some basic things, Jamila, that we should be thinking about?
Well, I just want to go back to like the first question that you asked. Have you ever been in an environment where it was difficult or it was, I'll say, manageable or easy for you? I want to say, since I have started my career, you know, Ramadan always comes around. I don't work around Muslims at the time. When I first started, I wasn't, working with Muslims. So it's like a lot of people were learning about it as I was going through Ramadan through me. I want to say it was never a situation where I felt Ramadan was difficult. Ramadan always has certain challenges that come, but for me, work-wise, it wasn't like difficult. But I will say, when I was a SPED supervisor, because of the administrator that the principal that I had, he was very, I'll say, inclusive. So like he he came to me and said, oh, because he saw that we had Muslim staff, he saw that we even had Muslim students. So he reached out to ask, could we do a Ramadan presentation? Because we would have community meetings on Fridays. So he would say, oh, can you put together a presentation, to educate us about Ramadan? Because I never forget, he would say, I don't ever want to make anybody feel like I don't see them or I don't care about, their religious or cultural practices. And he was just like, I don't know what I don't know. And I want to say every year I was at that school, we did a Ramadan presentation. And then I want to say we even added an aspect. One point we added a video. It was like ask a Muslim, ask a question. So we had the students and we had the students who were Muslim to answer the questions. And then I'll say my last year there, my principal, my dean of culture, and one of the culture associates, they weren't Muslim, but they fasted with us. And the dean of culture, she did her own fast. It wasn't necessarily like we were, but she knew that fast, it wasn't just about not eating, it was about other things as well. So she was like, there were other things that I fasted from. And then we did we did an Eid gift exchange. And no, they don't celebrate Eid, but we was like, this is our holiday. We exchange gifts and things like that. So when I tell you, it was just so much fun to like, because you didn't know who had you, you didn't know what you were gonna get. Like we used we used Elfster, that app.
Elfster, yeah, generated. So you really didn't know. It's really a surprise.
Right. So you really didn't know. But when I tell you, the look at everybody's face, everybody was so excited. Oh, I got a gift. And, and then the year prior, it was just sisters. It was just I don't think we didn't have any Muslim male staff. So we just did our own gift exchange. When I tell you how excited we sounded, just opening up the gifts. But like, I want to say that was like one of the best experiences professionally, because I never had an administrator like want to participate in that. You know what I mean? To reach out and say, oh, I want to participate in that. But he actually did. And he just said, it really made me see how much strength you have to fast. And then he even said just the restraint, because you're trying not to talk so much. And he was watching me in meetings, because I'm the fast supervisor. Like, I'm literally fighting sleep to not fall asleep in the meeting because I'm tired. At one point it was benchmarks during Ramadan, and
yes.
And I gotta, you need to go to the bathroom. I'm checking on all the sped teachers in their spaces, and I gotta remember you're fasting, so I can't be running up and down the steps like I normally would. But it was one of the best experiences that I'll never forget, that because I never had an administrator or AP, anybody that even ever checked up on me to say, like it wasn't until I was at that school where I had
it was like that,
an AP or a principal check on me, like, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, one time I remember my AP said, Juma Mubarak. I said, what? You know that? Like, it was like, I've never experienced that before, but for them to do that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so blessed to be, where I'm so blessed to be like where I am. So that was just, I haven't had a bad experience, but like that was like one of the best experiences. And like you said, like, of course, what are some of the basic things? And some of these basic things that we're gonna share right now, it applies to the workplace, it applies to schools as well. So first off, recognizing the needs of people who are fasting in your place of employment, in your school. First off, recognize who those people are. Okay.
Know what's going on, right? And so that's why your experience was so positive, because they saw you, right? They recognized who you were in the space head on. And so even in that same aspect that you were sharing about a positive experience, I experienced Ramadan during testing season. So being a proctor for the test. And I remember, one of the school administrators saying, hey, today we're just going to have you to be in the hallway instead of being a proctor, because we have enough people that can proctor. It was like midway through Ramadan. So they seen it was like, oh, she need a little support today. So really having somebody to see you and your energy levels, and really, especially like towards the afternoon, like, oh, we're going to support you in this. And how, it's like, oh, if we put you here, you're not proctoring, right? Because they're proctoring is you up on your feet, you constantly circulating the room and checking the space and all of those things. So as an educator, making sure, right, like those school administrators at that time say, oh no, we got you, Miss Lee. Like, you don't have to worry about that. But being able to see who you have in your space, and them recognizing, oh, you were up late last night, oh, you went to the masjid, things of that sort, is like, it's really, really important. And it means a lot. Like you say, when they say to you, oh, you fasting or you have strength, it's like, oh, you really do see what I'm doing, and you see that it's meaningful for me, right? And then thinking about, now, I just talked about the major tests, those state tests, right? We can't necessarily, combat with those state tests, but the benchmarks that happen in the school that are school mandated, really thinking about those school-based best practices that we might have, right? And so thinking about how to avoid scheduling those major tests or exams, specifically in the afternoon, it's going to be more challenging, right? So cognition and focus will decline later on in the day.
Right.
So those key assessments, you might want to hit them in the morning.
Right. If you can, we know in some situations, hey, it is what it is. But like, if you can, you can. You also want to also have a what I'm looking for, your scheduling. So having a quiet space for those who are fasting, because they don't want to go to the lunchroom. They don't want to go to the lunchroom. And some may say, oh, I'm fine, I can go to the lunchroom. But some, they're like, listen, I don't want to go to the lunchroom. So having an alternative for those students who are like, okay, I'm not trying to be in the lunchroom. I don't want
really
to
need the
eat
support.
and I'm not trying to do that. You know what I mean? So you definitely want to make sure you have an alternative space a space that's quiet. They can it could be another teacher classroom. Like it could be a teacher who listen, like, hey, it could be a Muslim teacher. They're fasting too. That's perfect. Or it could just be another space that's just quiet and it doesn't have food. Food is not, in the space. So that way they're like, okay, I'm not tempted. I can hey, I may just take out some work that I need to complete. I can do it there versus going to lunch and I'm surrounded by a lot of temptation.
Right. And even in thinking about that quiet space, you can take it up a notch. Yes, it can be just a quiet space, but you can also offer, because they're in my school, I am Muslim, and we have some other Muslim instructors. We have some trivia cards, right, for our students. They can practice like surah trivia and different Ramadan questions and memorizing the 99 names of Allah. There is so much excitement. And I think we touched on that last week, and I want to bring that home again this week. There is so much excitement around this time of year that like students are excited to be not in the cafeteria and to go to this quiet space, to go ahead and study, to finish up on some early work, because during this time we are really focusing on becoming the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. So creating that environment, that alternative space is like really ideal. And like just really being flexible with it.
Right. And then on top of being flexible, you also want to keep in mind, Assalamu alaikum, Sophia. You also want to keep in mind being flexible with your students who have physical education, who have gym. So you may want, you want to be mindful of that. So like, they're fasting. So you can probably modify what they have to do in gym for that month, nothing that's high intense, or perhaps rescheduling, like if it's something that they would have to do that does require a lot of intensity, perhaps if it could be scheduled at a different time where they could partake in that. But then you have to be very mindful, any physical activities, if they're on a sports team or something like that, you have to, I know students who are on sports teams, they are very, I want to say disciplined with, for sahur, how much water they're doing, like making sure they're not exerting too much energy because they need that energy on the field. Like, because you still have to do your job. Your job could be you're a professional athlete. And you don't stop just because, Ramadan comes, you still go on with your life. So you're going to have to do, make certain accommodations for yourself to help you be your optimal self. But like at a school setting with students, hey, if you know that they're fasting, you can be flexible with the gym class. Probably have them do something that's low intensity that doesn't exert as much energy out of them. And then,
or even if you have flexibility as the PE teacher to have some health, right? Some health assignments or health assessments that are blended in. So, right, if before your full class of 60, 90 minutes was all physical, maybe you cut it down to 45 minutes, and some of that is about health and nutrition, and then the other part is physical. So that everybody, right, we're talking about inclusion and not really trying to single somebody out, but we're saying, hey, these are some different things that you can offer to make sure it's for everybody.
Right. And then lastly, for this particular part, students are like, they have to pray. So Having, and you don't have to call it a prayer room, you can call it a meditation room, you can call it the reflection space, but make sure it's a quiet, clean space for students who, hey, they need to take a break. They can go here to take a break. They can go in here to meditate. They can go in here to pray. You could just have a designated space for that. I've been in schools where they have a meditation room. So you can go in here to pray. You can go in here to meditate. It's quiet and it's clean. And I'm stressing quiet and clean.
Heavy on the clean. Heavy on the clean.
On the clean. Nobody wants to play around junk. No one wants to play around, pray around clutter, anything. You want a clean and quiet space because you need to be in a space like that so you can focus, you can concentrate.
So the other thing is creating that space and letting everybody know where the space is. So if this is a space that was just created for the sole purpose of Ramadan and it was not there before, being explicit and letting your students know and your faculty or staff know that, hey, we have made this space clean, comfortable for you to go and be able to pray. So that it's not like a surprise, right? This is a designated space. And if everybody knows it's there, right, the afternoon, the midday prayer comes in. That's the afternoon prayer. And, they can make their prayer on time and not have to worry about, how can I fit in a corner somewhere because the accommodation has already been made in a school. And the other thing is that sometimes in schools, students will, have to find the space and like get to the space. But it's always, helpful that everybody is cognizant of around what time it's coming in. So then teachers are not surprised of like, oh, I have 2 or 3 students who are leaving out at a time, depending on what your school allows, right? There should be some type of communication that has happened prior to that. So it's not a surprise. It's a midday prayer. And it's happening, during the day. So you should know about what time it's coming in.
Right. So you already know like the time that it's coming in, so you can kind of prepare for it. And hey, you may have, hey, we're going to take the younger students at this time. We're going to take the older students at this time. Or, hey, you know how you can have those students who are responsible, the older ones. Hey, I'm going to go pick up so-and-so from this class, and you're going to go pick up so-and-so in this class, and then we're going to meet here for prayer, or whatever. So there's so many different ways that you can make it work. It definitely can work. And I've seen it work. You know what I mean? And you can just explain to students, hey, you're here to pray. Once you're done, we are returning back to class. This is not a break. It is just so you can, pray. All right. Now, so with that, now that we covered like those few best practices, let's talk about how to create this inclusive school, this inclusive workplace, and having that inclusive culture overall. So, Janae, how'd you start us off?
So thinking about the power of awareness and being proactive, right? Thinking about how to support your Muslim students and employees by fostering a sense of belonging and reducing that idea of discrimination. Thinking specifically that inclusion doesn't mean doing everything perfectly, but it's making sure that everybody has an effort. That's why I mentioned like just being aware of the time, like being aware of what might be happening and making an effort to learn and to listen. Not saying that, I don't want to hear that. You can't shut it out totally because it's a part of your community, right? So fostering that sense of belonging and reducing that discrimination idea is really, really big because then it helps to support your Muslim students and staff, your employees, to make them feel that they are meaningful, that they are, very important to you. That really, really matters. And so if I know that you are excited about my holiday coming up and everything that I'm doing, then guess what? I'm going to do some things differently in this.
Right. And then on top of that, you want to make sure leadership wise, the leadership and your policies that you're being considerate of those in your workplace and in your school, and not just being, oh, well, you can't, and just excluding people. You want to make sure that you are able to give accommodations without major disruptions to your daily operations. So that's where those certain things come into play. Well, listen, we know, hey, when I'm working in the workplace, hey, if I had to pray, I did it during my, hey, when's my lunch or whatever? Is it after my prayer time? Okay, I'm going to make my prayer in my office. I'm going to close my door. I'm going to pull my shade down. So somebody might think I'm in a meeting and I'll pray. So it was never interrupting what I had to do
right.
as the supervisor. You know what I mean? I had students who would come into my office. It was during their lunchtime because the prayer came in after their it came in before their lunch. So they were able to just come in and they would just come about office. And then sometimes they were like, okay, Mr. Chair, I don't want to go to the lunchroom. Not a problem. They would just
come on in. But that's because you fostered a space for them, right? They found the space.
Right. They just walked in. I have a prayer in my office, so they knew where it was. And they would just go and pray. You know what I mean? And then one of the students, they were like, okay, I'm fine if I go to the lunchroom. I'm like, that's fine. Once it was like, Mr. Fisher, I don't want to. I said, fine, you can stay right here. So just being accommodating and not just being, not just saying, oh, sorry, we can't do that. Like actually make attempts to do it and just consider making adjustments as you see they need to be implemented.
Right.
And then you also, on top of that, as the leadership in the school, as the staff in your building, you want to model that inclusive behavior throughout your building because this will help with the culture of your building. A lot of people don't, they want to downplay the power of culture. Culture is so important and it really sets the tone for everybody in that building, and administration, you set the tone in your building. So it is very important that you and the leadership team that you practice and you model inclusive behavior. So one thing to do is avoid your microaggressions. Avoid stereotypes. So something you may have seen on TV. Now, let's say you on TV. Who knows if it was real about Muslims or not? Be mindful of the tone and how you ask your question versus, oh my God, y'all can't eat all day. No, that's not.
Oh man, that's crazy. Saying stuff.
Right. You want to reframe that and say, oh, you can say, hey, I heard that you don't eat all day. Is that true? That sounds so much better than like, oh my God, you can't eat. I couldn't be.
That's crazy. You don't eat all day. You can't even have water.
Right. So instead, ask respectful questions if you're curious. So, hey, what does Ramadan? I heard somebody say Ramadan's move something. What did they say? What does that mean? You can ask questions like that. Or, hey, let me know if there's anything I can do to support you. That is so much better. And that will be so much more meaningful to them versus you pushing microaggressions off on them and stereotypes.
Specifically for your coworkers who you want to work with after this month is over, right? People remember how you made them feel. You may have said something, people remember how you made them feel. If you're thinking about working with students, they remember how you made them feel, whether this was something that you supported or encouraged or not, right? That language of we, that community support, right? That idea that we got you, we support you. Yeah, this is not my thing, but I understand this is what we're doing to support the community, right? All of that stuff matters. And just really thinking about this idea of inclusivity is a shared responsibility. So because I'm focused on this thing, you're going to support me because you see me focused on it. Just like when I see you doing something, I'm going to support you.
Excellent. So now with that being said, using the we language, how can now everybody at your job, at your school, they're not Muslims. So how can non-Muslims be better allies during Ramadan? How do you think non-Muslims can be better allies during Ramadan? Anybody in the comments want to answer that? And there's no right or wrong answer. Like, how do you think, like, if you're a non-Muslim, you're not Muslim, how do you think you can be an ally, you can be supportive of somebody who is fasting?
That's a
Anybody?
good question.
Or hey, if you are Muslim, you might have had a coworker who was not Muslim, and they were very supportive and they helped you out. So how did they do that for you? Don't be afraid. Because I see y'all be talking any other time, commenting on this and that. So,
Right. Like, holler at us in the chat. Let us know something.
and like I already shared how, like, my principal, he was not Muslim at all. My dean of culture, not Muslim. The culture associate, he was not Muslim when they did that. When they fasted with us, they were not Muslim at all, and they were just trying, wanted to be supportive of their colleagues who were fasting. So it was just like, let me try it, and that was just so. I never felt so seen before. It was just like, oh my God.
Like, you
Like,
really know this is my life and this is what I'm
right.
doing,
And
right? Like, I'm not, yeah.
right. It really
And
helped me get an
it's so
understanding.
meaningful. And it made you show up differently too, because you seen how they supported you.
Right. That was like the best. So like, you don't have to fast. Like, I've heard people say, oh, I'm gonna fast with you. That's cool. I'm just like, that's cool. If you want, because sometimes it gets started, I'm like, we still can't eat. And I'm like, let's focus on not the food. Let's focus on the other things that we're
That you
fasting
fasted from.
that we're fasting from. But like, you know, hey, you let me use your office or your classroom to pray. Something small like that, or you let some students come in your classroom to pray.
That
Or
goes
they
a long way. A student will remember how you showed up for them in that time. A colleague will remember that, oh, you made sure I had a clean space. You made sure, that the students had somewhere to go. You volunteered to be the staff person to sit with them in the room, because I was still working during that lunch period, and there was nobody to cover in that room with those students. Like, that's a way to show up to be an ally, right? Like, speak up when you see the disrespect about it. If you see somebody being ignorant or dismissive, politely correct them,
mm-hmm. and that's
right?
that's what it's about when you're an ally. It's not just, oh, I'm helping you with this, I'm supporting you this. You also are supporting me by advocating for me. Hey, when I'm around, when I'm not around. And this is how also you educate people too. When you hear ignorance, when you correct them, it's like, now it's like, okay, they have no choice but to continue on with their ignorance, or to take the correction that you gave them and move differently.
Gotta go the right route.
You know what I mean? Janae said, speaking up when you see disrespect or exclusion. Also, check in on your fasting colleagues or students. We've said this so many times. You definitely want to just check up, like something simple. Hey, you okay? Do you need anything? Do you need a break? Can I assist you with anything? Hey, learning how to say Ramadan Mubarak. Something simple.
Definitely supportive.
You know what I mean? It goes such a long way, because it's like, I see you, and I'm here for you. So you want to definitely just check in on them. Again, I remember
Thinking about those boundaries too, right? Respecting the boundaries. If somebody prefers not to talk about their fast or their fasting experience, right? Like, okay, I respect it. I'm listening. I hear you. I see you, right? Really showing up for them in that way is also important, right? Like you say, you had people to show up for you and say, oh, I see you in this meeting, like struggling, like they checking on you.
Right. And then also making space for conversations about Ramadan. So making people feel comfortable to even share how their Ramadan is going. So even encouraging your, like I said, at my school, my principal saw it. He was very observant. He saw, hey, I got Muslim staff and I got Muslim students. Let me do a community meeting about it. You know what I mean? And it was something that, hey, the students was even getting more interested in it and things like that. So it was like they were interested in asking questions, and then interested, hey, how can I support somebody who's fasting? What can I do? And when we even did the Ramadan community meeting, we made it What is that? Not a Kahoot. What is it? What's the thing everybody was using during COVID, making the lessons interactive? What's the thing? It escapes me right now.
Nearpod. The Nearpod.
We made a Nearpod. I think of it. In the beginning, we did a Nearpod. We was just like, hey, we was like, hey, if you woke up at this time and for sahur, and then you broke your fast at this time, how many hours did you fast? You know, we throw
right, like really making it engaging, fun.
Or it's like, it's sahur time. What are you gonna eat? And they're saying, oh, I'm gonna eat this. And we were like, you think you're gonna eat that, but you're not going to eat that. You think you will, but you will not. So we was making it very engaging. And then how can you support someone who's fasting? They was like, you know what? I cannot get on my teacher's nerves. That's what one kid said.
That's real. That's real.
Because I'm like, hey, you're not getting on my nerves. I don't got to talk as much. So you're helping me. You are helping me with my fast because I don't got to talk as much. So like, those, you can do things like that. You can have a bulletin board that talks about Ramadan. You can put it in a newsletter, letting your school or staff community know about Ramadan, what's going on and what's happening. So there's so many things that you can do to make space for the conversations about Ramadan. All right.
Make sure you're supporting that. Yeah,
exactly.
All and that makes sense.
And now we're going to open up the floor for questions. Questions. Anybody have questions? Now is your time. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, what questions do you have?
And so while you're thinking of your questions, just want to share that we are doing this to make sure that people feel empowered and people feel informed about what's happening during the month of Ramadan. So no question is a stupid question. Don't be shy. We will answer it to make sure that you feel comfortable enough to, share with your colleagues and fellow students.
Yeah. Any questions? Hold on. Let me see if I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm trying to check on my thing because it's not coming up on my screen.
Let me see. And then also scroll down because I forgot to scroll down. I saw all this feedback in the live one time. Sometimes you gotta scroll down too. All right, I'm just checking my IG.
I check my IG and I check my LinkedIn.
All right.
Looks like my Facebook didn't link.
Let me see. Just checking one more place. All right, let me scroll over. All right, any questions? I'm just double checking my phone one last time to see if the question came through. Oh, somebody said, do you guys have any resources that you can share to support schools?
So Jamila and I, the IP coach and the Mentor Teacher League, we have really been working hard to make this series one that's really like impactful and powerful. And this is our second year doing this. And so learning from last year and the things that we did and the feedback that we got, we definitely put some things together to make sure that there is culturally responsive support in your schools. And so we have a big picture and a small picture that we can share with you guys. So Jamila, you want to talk about the big picture, and I'll talk about the small picture.
All right. So big picture is we definitely, like Janae said, we want to support you in your school. So big picture, we do have something that we have put together for schools. So that way is basically training with slide decks. So that way you can share this with your school, and or we can come and do the training at your school, so that way everyone is aware of what's going on, how to support colleagues and how to support students. And that is our culturally responsive Ramadan presentation that we have for schools and we have for the workplace. So we're just putting some updates on it, and we will have that out to you all next week. Next time we come on here, we're going to have that ready for you guys to share out. We're so excited about that. We'll have it up and ready to share out with you. We're just putting some last updates on it, and that will be ready for you next week when we come on for, oh my gosh, episode 3.
I mean, it's going so fast. And in addition to that big picture, small picture, not really small picture, it's still a big picture because it surrounds about that same idea of inclusion, the same idea of making sure that you have everything you need. And so we put together a comprehensive toolkit that will be ready for release as well next week. And that toolkit will help you to secure some things in this space, some signage, some different things that you can do and not do in your spaces, as well as things that you can just have on hand that will support all of your students and colleagues alike.
Oh, I got another question. All right, so here's a question. She says, what about girls who have their period? How do you support them? You want to do that one? Chapter she sent 2. So that's
All
the
right.
first.
That's the first one. So for our girls who are on their period, we still support them, right? In the same way that we would support and include them any other time of the year. We still make sure to have them to feel empowered, because there's this idea that they have to go into hiding when they are on their menstruation, and that's not true, right? It is something that happens. It is natural, and so we help them to feel empowered around the idea that, hey, my cycle is on. It happens during Ramadan. And these are the things that I do, right? And so you talk with them, making sure that the conversation, specifically if they're a young lady, right, speaking to somebody, speaking to the family, and making sure that everybody's having those same conversations, because it's nothing to be ashamed of. She probably will be bummed out because it's Ramadan, and we said before, this is such an exciting time. But there are different ways, right, to still support and celebrate during Ramadan, even with her cycle being on.
And also, just so you know, when someone's cycle is on, a reason they go in, like Janae said, they might want to go in hiding, is because when your cycle is on, your period is on, you don't fast, because you have to eat, you have to, have your energy. So you can eat during that time, you know what I mean? And so they may not want people to see them eating. They may think like, oh my God, you're not being a practicing Muslim. It's supposed to be Ramadan. You're supposed to refrain from eating, but she's allowed to eat because her cycle is on. So that doesn't mean that she is not a practicing Muslim. It does not mean that she is breaking Ramadan rules or anything like that. She is
the Ramadan police coming. Oh my goodness.
Girls who are experiencing their period, you do not fast, just like you don't fast if you are on medication, if you are sick, if you are not of sane mind, if you're pregnant, if you're nursing, you don't fast. You make up those days at a later time. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other question.
That was a good question. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah. Another question was educators who might not understand that she can fast. Okay. So how do you... So she was like, what about the girls who have their period and educators who might not understand that she can't fast? So I guess how do we support those educators in understanding she's not fasting right now, this is why. And I think it is also important because every staff member or teacher is not a female, you
Right.
know.
So that
So
conversation is different, right? Yeah. And so right, like we said before, right? You see her eating and somebody is judgmental, or it's a male teacher, they don't really know how to address it, right? It's like really again that idea of being open to listen and right, like tapping into the supports that you have in your school to ask the clarifying questions before jumping to judgment, before passing judgment or being judgmental about somebody. Like all of that matters, right? Not to be that way.
yeah, yeah. So, and then also, hey, when we release when we release the toolkit and when we release um, the training support materials that we have, this is something that we can bring to your school to educate your staff, to educate your employees, so that way they know how to handle situations like this if they do arise. Is not so like, oh my God, what do I do? Is she lying? Is this for real? Like, you
Right.
know how to handle it, and you don't got to make it awkward. You know, it don't have to be an awkward situation. She don't got to feel
Like
awkward.
that.
You don't got to feel awkward as a male teacher. So we cannot wait to share this out with you guys. So make sure you tune in next week, which will be episode 3. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts, the things you should not be saying during Ramadan.
Come on.
When I tell you, and I know some of you guys have seen our content we put out so far. When I tell you, we had a lot of fun making those reels because those are things that have actually been said to us. Those are things that have occurred. They have been
Yes,
said.
actually been said. Actually, right in
Yeah,
your face. Like, I can't believe you even say something like that.
right. And it's like, can you imagine some of this stuff has come from adults? Not even, hey, some of it has come from kids, but it's adults. You're asking these questions. You coming with the stereotypes. You're coming with your microaggressions. And I got to remain calm because I'm fasting. But you asked a dumb question. And I want to say it. But,
And I'm going to say it's dumb. So we're going to help y'all get that together so that.
yes. So next week. We're gonna pull some edges. We're gonna pull some hairlines because we're gonna get you guys in order. Because enough is enough.
Knock it off. I was talking with my Jersey sisters the other day. They say, knock it off. Knock it off.
Yes, girls going highs. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, the questions can be wow. Adults are awful.
It's terrible.
Yes,
Terrible.
terrible. So, do we have any final questions before we close out? Any final questions? I don't think so. So, just remember, small changes make a big difference in making schools and workplaces inclusive. Education is key. When you know better, you do better. So, hey, when you learn and understand Ramadan, learn more about Ramadan, you're more likely to be supportive and inclusive. And
Right.
allyship is not just about, hey, I support you. What else is it about, Sister Janae?
Man, it's about I see you. I support you. I'm going to check somebody when they saying something wrong. I'm going to check in on you.
I'm advocating for you. When you hear,
I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to check on you.
Exactly. So make sure you guys join us next week for episode 3, Ramadan's do's and don'ts, what you should and shouldn't say. Wait, did another question just come through? Sorry.
Did it? Because I can't say.
Somebody just texted me a question.
Okay.
They just said, what about accommodating students who might seem tired because they have to balance school, work, and home, and because they were up praying all night and stuff like that. So she's asking, like, those students who seem tired, how can we accommodate them? Because they're trying to balance. Hey, they're a student. You're trying to balance Taraweeh. They're trying to balance prayer. They're trying to balance home and school.
Right.
I can even tell you from experience. One time when I was still in the class, I was teaching 7th grade English, and one of the students was Muslim, and I know his family. And I remember working at my computer, and I get
I like
this
this story.
email.
I remember this story. Go ahead.
Email, and the teacher says, and this is a predominantly white school district. There aren't a lot of people of color at all. So she said in her email, she said, "Oh my God, has anybody seen?" We're gonna say his name is Malik. Has anybody seen Malik? He's so lethargic, and he told me he didn't eat this morning. Like, has anybody else seen him? Has anybody else experienced this? And so at first I was like, who is this student? I looked at the name again. I just said, hey, everybody, Malik is Muslim. It is Ramadan. Send him to the bathroom to wet his face and rinse his mouth out and send him back to class. He's fine. Now, had I not done that, somebody could have sent that to the office, could have sent that to the nurse. They could have thought that he was being neglected. His parents were neglecting him, which was not the case at all. It's just they had no idea it was Ramadan. And then I went up to him like, you could have gave some more context instead of just saying I didn't eat this morning.
Yeah, like, because now they thinking that you just at home starving. Come on.
More context here, Malik. You could have gave some more context. But I was, alhamdulillah, I was there, in that space to share. So a lot of teachers like, oh, and a lot of your teachers said, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm like, he's fine. Just wet his face. Sometimes you do have to do that. Sometimes even when I was at work, I had to do that to wake myself up because I'm getting tired. So with students who were getting tired, I would say, go to the bathroom, rinse your mouth out with water and put some water on your face. Okay. And I say, use cold water, and I would, tell students to do that because, hey, when you're not eating, hey, your energy level is going down and it does make you tired. You do get tired, but that was something that I did.
Up, but we going to help you. We're not going to make excuses. We're going to support you. We're going to help you.
Okay. All right. So I think that is the last question for real this time. Join us next week for episode 3, where we talk about the Ramadan's do's and don'ts, what you should and should not say. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you come with your questions. Make sure you share out the reels that we're dropping. Again, we had so much fun making them, and we
had so much fun.
So much fun. We'll tell you more about them in next week's episode, but we look forward to seeing you guys next week. So make sure you tune in next week and be safe. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be ready for Ramadan Real Talk.
We'll be here to meet you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings.